Today, we find ourselves at a critical juncture in how we feed our civilization. The human story has become an urban one. For the first time in history, more people live in bustling cities and sprawling towns than in rural landscapes. This mass migration has reshaped our economies, our cultures, our relationship with the planet. Yet within these gleaming centers of progress, a quiet but pervasive crisis is unfolding. It is the crisis of the empty plate. It is the long journey of a wilting vegetable. It is the silent hunger of a family surrounded by concrete. We often imagine hunger as a problem of distant, arid fields, but it has firmly taken root in our own backyards, in the shadows of skyscrapers. The scale of this urban challenge is staggering and demands our immediate attention. A recent United Nations-backed report from last year delivered a sobering finding. Approximately 1.7 billion people living in and around urban areas are food insecure. This means that nearly 1 in 5 people on Earth, many of them, our city-dwelling neighbors, do not have reliable access to sufficient safe, nutritious food. This is not a failure of a single harvest, or a temporary disruption. It is a systemic flaw in the architecture of our modern food supply. The very systems designed to support our dense populations are proving to be fragile, inequitable, and unsustainable in their current form. This fragility is exposed every time a storm disrupts a shipping route, a drought withers a distant crop, or a fuel price hike makes transport prohibitively expensive. Our cities are at the end of a very long and precarious food chain, one that stretches for thousands of miles. The limits of the land, a system stretched thin. For millennia, agriculture has been defined by its horizontal spread across the land. To grow more food, we simply claimed more earth. This expansionist model has reached its physical and ecological limits. Today, nearly half of all the habitable land on our planet is dedicated to agriculture, a vast footprint. Forests, wetlands, grasslands. We are running out of new land to plow. Every new field often means the destruction of a natural ecosystem, pushing us closer to irreversible environmental tipping points. The soil itself, the very foundation of this system, is becoming degraded, less productive in many regions. At the same time, traditional farming is an incredibly thirsty endeavor. It is the single largest consumer of the world's freshwater resources. In the United States, for example, agriculture accounts for almost half of all freshwater withdrawals, primarily for the irrigation of crops. In a world where water scarcity is an escalating threat fueled by climate change, funneling such enormous volumes of this precious resource into open fields is becoming untenable. Aquifers are being depleted faster than they can be replenished. Rivers are running dry, creating conflict and hardship for communities that depend on them for survival and sustenance. The challenges do not end with land and water. Our conventional agricultural model is vulnerable to the whims of an increasingly unpredictable climate. Unprecedented droughts, catastrophic floods, unseasonal frosts. These events can wipe out entire harvests, creating price shocks and supply shortages that ripple through the global economy. Furthermore, the agricultural workforce is aging and shrinking as younger generations seek opportunities elsewhere. Farmers themselves are caught in a difficult economic squeeze, facing rising costs for fuel, fertilizer, seeds, while often receiving volatile and diminishing returns for their labor and investment. This is a system under immense and growing stress. A new harvest. What is vertical farming? In the face of these immense challenges, a new model for agriculture is rising, literally. Vertical farming offers a radically different path forward. It is a method of growing food indoors, within the very cities that need it most. Imagine a farm not spread out over acres of countryside, but stacked upwards inside a building. Plants are cultivated in layers, one on top of the other, reaching for the ceiling instead of the horizon. This approach allows us to produce a tremendous amount of food within a very small physical footprint, transforming our understanding of what a farm can be and where it can exist. The core principle of vertical farming is control. Instead of being subject to the weather, pests, seasons, these indoor farms create a perfect growing environment year-round. Plants often grow without soil, using methods like hydroponics, where their roots are bathed in a nutrient-rich water solution. Highly efficient LED lights are tuned to the specific wavelengths that plants need for photosynthesis, acting as a kind of private sun that can be turned on or off as needed. The temperature, humidity, and carbon dioxide levels are all carefully managed. This transforms farming from an art of chance into a science of precision, making food production as predictable and reliable as a modern manufacturing process. The resource savings achieved by this method are nothing short of revolutionary. When you compare it to traditional field agriculture, the numbers are striking. A vertical farm can use up to 99% less land to produce the same quantity of crops. This means a single tall building could potentially yield as much produce as a farm hundreds of acres in size. Water savings are equally dramatic, with many systems using 90 to 98% less water than conventional irrigation. This is because the water is recirculated within a closed loop, rather than evaporating into the air or running off into the soil. Inside the green towers, real-world examples of success. The concept of vertical farming has moved far beyond theoretical diagrams and into tangible, productive reality. Across the globe, pioneering companies are demonstrating that this model can work at a commercial scale. Technology. Markets. Social mission. In the United States, AeroFarms has been a prominent player, operating large-scale indoor farms that supply leafy greens to major retailers. Using a proprietary aeroponics system and a sophisticated data platform to monitor thousands of data points, they have continuously refined their growing processes. After navigating the difficult market correction of 2023, the company refocused its strategy on operational efficiency, pushing toward a more sustainable and profitable business model. Another fascinating example is Oishii. Instead of competing on the low margins of leafy greens, Oishii focuses on growing exquisite, high-quality strawberries, a traditionally difficult crop to grow indoors. By creating meticulously controlled environments that replicate the ideal growing conditions of the Japanese mountains, they produce fruit so exceptional that consumers are willing to pay a significant premium. With successful farms in both Japan and the US, Oishii has proven that vertical farming can deliver not just sustenance, but a superior sensory experience, opening up new high-value market segments for the industry. The impact of vertical farming can be social as well as commercial. Vertical Harvest, based in Jackson, Wyoming, exemplifies this approach. The company builds and operates hydroponic greenhouses in urban centers, with a mission to create meaningful employment for people with disabilities. While the benefits of vertical farming are compelling, widespread adoption hinges on a clear-eyed understanding of its economic challenges, and this is not a cheap endeavor, you know. The path to profitability is paved with significant financial hurdles. The most formidable barrier to entry is the high upfront capital expenditure, or CapEx. Constructing a state-of-the-art indoor farm is a complex and costly undertaking. Multi-level racking systems, sophisticated HVAC units, automated nutrient delivery systems, thousands of high-efficiency LED lights. Estimates range from $1,000 to $2,500 per square meter of growing area. Once the farm is built, the focus shifts to operating expenses, or OPEX, and one cost stands out above all others: energy. Artificial sunlight and a perfectly controlled climate 24/7 is incredibly energy intensive. Electricity can be 40 to 70% of total ongoing costs. This reliance makes farms vulnerable to volatile energy prices. It also draws criticism about carbon footprint if the electricity is fossil fuel-based. Taming this enormous energy appetite is paramount for long-term viability. Labor represents another significant operational cost. Many still require manual labor for tasks such as seeding, transplanting, harvesting, packaging. In high-wage economies, labor costs can eat into already thin profit margins. That created a strong incentive to invest in automation. Reduces long-term labor costs, improves consistency, reduces risk of contamination, allows workers to focus on farm management, allows workers to focus on data analysis. For vertical farms to transition from a niche industry to a mainstream component of our food system, operators must relentlessly pull on several key levers to improve their unit economics. The first and most critical lever is the reduction of energy costs. This begins with deploying the most energy-efficient technology available. Next-generation LED lights consume less electricity, generate less heat. Upgrading to highly efficient HVAC systems that can recapture and reuse energy can make a substantial difference. More strategically, farms must decouple from grid volatility by integrating renewable energy sources. On-site solar panels, battery storage systems, long-term power purchase agreements, locking in lower, predictable energy costs improves environmental credentials. The second lever is the aggressive adoption of automation and smart control systems.